Speaking of the destructive power of the bomb, I don't know why I expect, maybe others did too. I expected to see carnage. And there is imagery. In fact, my son came with me to the screening, and he was asking about that. I said, don't you remember the charred shadow that he walked through and all that? And I was explaining this to him. But you didn't hit us over the head with it. Yeah, that was clearly a choice. Why?
I think, really, as a filmmaker, you can't be overly conscious about why you choose to do things. You have to run on instinct to a degree. Mm-hmm. But the feeling for me as a filmmaker was very strongly that to depart from Oppenheimer's experience would betray the terms of the storytelling. And so we saw so much more, we know so much more than he did at the time. Discovering from Kai's book that he learned about the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki on the radio, the same as the rest of the world. That, to me, was a shock.
This is very intentional with this movie, that this is most of the movie and is his point of view.
Yeah.
And then when you're in black and white, it's in Strauss's point of view.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very sort of rigidly with the color sequences. Everything is his experience, or my interpretation of his experience. Because as I keep reminding everyone, it's not a documentary. It is an interpretation. That's my job. And so I wanted to.
Would you classify it as docudrama?
No, I think it's drama. I think it's narrative, dramatic filmmaking. I think that whilst I do think the film is perhaps more accurate than some people might think, coming to it fresh, because there are sort of extraordinary things. I mean, to take one example, when you read American Prometheus and you learn that, his tutor at Cambridge, Patrick Blackett, who's the guy played by James Darcy, who he tries to poison.
Right.
He later on is the first physicist to really write questioning America's motives in dropping the bomb on Japan. Now, no screenwriter would invent that. It's far too seemingly fanciful. Right. But that's the truth. And the film is full of those things. And so a lot of the things, when Kitty Oppenheimer is testifying,
right.
That's from the transcript.
Well, I was just going to say, having so much, that transcript, you're handed.
Yeah,
I mean,
1,000 pages.
Imagine not having that
transcript. No, I can't. Right. No, and I never would have taken the project on without Kai and Marty's incredible work. I mean, that gave you sort of confidence. But yes, to come back to the choices of what to portray or not, to me, it's really about staying in his head. There's also, I would say, a recurring motif. I mean, I don't, deal too much in spoilers for people who haven't seen the film, if people are writing about it, but. Right. There's a lot to do with what he won't look at. There's a lot to do with him closing his eyes.
My favorite retort, though, that you said about that, you were worried about spoilers, and then you said, well, there's Google. Right? This all happened. It's not like, No, don't tell anybody. Exactly. There's 2 bombs.
It's
right?
It's a strange thing to say, to talk about spoilers. But, of course, and that's why it's not a drama, not a documentary or a docudrama, because it's the way in which, you receive the story that hopefully creates suspense, hopefully creates surprise.